The universe is like a pop-up ad. It's going to give us what we're looking for. And so if we are looking for problems, if we're looking for faults, we're looking to find something or somebody wrong, the universe is so loving and so gracious and so generous that it'll give us all kinds of opportunities to find fault. All kinds of opportunities to find problems. Now, one of my roles at this company, and probably one of the reasons why I chose to leave, because I was having this conflict, my primary role was called problem management. And my role was to find out where the problems were. And what I discovered is that the more I looked for problems, the more problems there were to look for. I see Tom laughing back there. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. And so when we have this mindset that we're going to find and fix all the problems, guess what? You just spend all your time looking for and finding and trying to fix all these problems. And so here's the thing. Our mind is an amazing, amazing tool that will attract to us and draw to us whatever we are giving our attention to. Just like the pop-up ads. And so the question I really have for you this week is, are you creating a habit of looking for and trying to fix all the problems in your life? It's just going to give you more opportunities to find and fix more problems. Because we are creative beings, because we are created to be in the energy of creation, whatever we're putting our attention on is what the universe is hearing as what we desire and what we want. Now, Jesus said it this way: seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and the door shall be opened. Ask, and it shall be given. Now, that's one interpretation and that's one translation of that saying. But I'm going to suggest to you that what I believe Jesus was saying, and really, as I looked at this interpretation, what Jesus was saying is, whatever you're seeking, that's what you're going to find. Let me say that again. It's not just seek and find. Whatever you are seeking is what you are going to find. You probably wouldn't even notice it if you found something else. Whatever your mind is focused on and looking for, that's what the world is going to reflect back to you. And so part of our unfoldment as spiritual beings is to begin to train our minds in such a way that we are looking for what we truly all desire and want. Now, one of the keys and one of the key principles of A Course in Miracles, one of the key principles of love is letting go of fear, one of the key principles of unity, believe it or not, is that there's one thing that every one of us is actually wanting to have and experience in our life, and that's peace. We're all looking for inner peace. We say it in different ways. Well-being, we're looking for to experience the good, but ultimately, when we experience well-being, what we're experiencing is that sense of inner peace. When we're experiencing abundance or prosperity, what we're really desiring is to experience safety and comfort and peace and freedom. All of these are aspects of that inner knowing of good, of light, of love, of care, of compassion. So we're all seeking that thing, and we need to train our creative minds that we are focusing on and looking for that in such a way that we are not seeing it as being absent from us. We have a tendency, and we've been trained to look for the absence of it and try to push away the absence of love. But when you realize that there really is only one presence and one power, there is no absence of that one presence and power. There is no absence of love anywhere. And yet we've been conditioned to believe this illusion that somehow we can be separate from that somehow we can be separate, and that if we just manage to control things, situations, circumstances, them, others, if we could just control all that, then, we can make sure that we have peace, right? How's that working for you? My best Dr. Phil imitation here. How's that working for you? So our work really isn't to try and get the world to give us more love, because the world doesn't have that love. We are in and as and of that love in and of itself. And our work is really to allow the energy of love to move through us in such a way that we are pouring it out through us in all aspects of life, and that what we are looking for is actually looking for us. Love is looking for you right now. It's seeking you. It's seeking you to be who and what you truly are. An experience and expression of the divine, of love itself. And there are myriad of ways that we can show up in life being what we truly are and who we truly are. We are created in the image and after the likeness of the divine. And so when you are going through life, working and dealing with experiences in life, one of the things that we want to begin to condition ourselves to do is to look for the energies and the opportunities, not just to find love, but to be love. How can I show up as love in this circumstance? How can I show up as peace? How can I show up as light? How can I show up as joy? Because I can tell you, every circumstance and situation is calling for that from you. And it's calling on a way that we've been conditioned to react to or to be triggered by. So one of the things that Love is Letting Go of Fear points out, and I'll share with you just a story. When I first started kind of getting into some of this way of understanding and thinking, I was really pretty much, let's just say I didn't get it at first. And I had a neighbor, and this neighbor was a very big person who was very forceful and very intent on forcing his way some people would say he was a bully. And I was trying to understand, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with this kind of energy? How do I deal with someone who is set on being forceful and being abusive even? This person was, I had to call animal protection on this person several times. And I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to deal with it. And then I came across the book, Love is Letting Go of Fear. And I'll be honest with you, I was afraid of him. Because he was mean, and he was violent, and he was big, and he did not mind using force. And anyway, and I thought, how am I going to, I was like, his house was as close as that back wall of my house. And So I wrestled with that. I struggled. So how do I do this without having to join into that kind of energy? And so I began working with this understanding that what I really feared was not real. He had actually never been violent with me. And to tell you the truth, I had, let's just say, I was wrestling with, do I match his violence with violence? I don't tend to be a violent person. I've never really tended to be a violent person. I will never say that I haven't been violent at times when I felt it was necessary. I'm not saying it worked the way I hoped it would. In fact, I would say it probably worked just the opposite of that. And so one of the things I began to do is in my mind, I began to send him thoughts of love. That was hard. It was really difficult because I could see all kinds of ways that he was not a very loving and lovable person. My ego mind had pretty much set an awareness and a belief system about this person. And part of my healing was me changing my mind about him. Interesting, notice what I'm saying here. My work was not to change him. My work was to change my mind and my heart about him. And interestingly enough, I began doing this, and one of the times that I recall very clearly waking up in the middle of the night with a feeling of absolute rage at this person for something that I saw that he had done that was violent. And I saw myself going and standing before him and just looking clearly into his eyes and saying no in this amazing, powerful rage. And then I saw another image. And I saw in this dream that I went to him, stood before him just this way, and opened my heart and said no. But I said it with an energy of compassion and love, because the thing that I got from love is letting go of fear is there is either love in the world or a cry for love. And this was someone who had not learned how to love, but was very clearly crying out for love. And by being able to do that, I was absolutely, totally clear that my role was not to get him to be different, but to be in the energy of love with him and about him. And the interesting thing about that is, within a day or two, he came over and was apologizing to me for several things that had happened. He had never done anything like that before, ever. And was really looking at and saying, I've been looking at myself. And I'm going, what? And realized that I have been hurting and hurting others. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not someone that I wound up becoming fast friends with. But I was able to realize that there was a shift there. Not only in me, but there was a shift in him. And he had a different experience. And he had a different experience of me. And I would say that, it was an answer to prayer in a lot of ways, that within a month he moved. Now, that was either a blessing or an escape from a lesson. I don't know which it was at this point. I guess I still, because I still am, I'm aware of the charge that he had with me, but I'm also aware of the amazing blessing that I got, that this is someone, now don't get me wrong, if I felt like that I was actually physically, or my wife or my child at that time was physically being threatened in some way, I can't tell you what I would do. Whether I'd be able to stop and just say, okay, this is someone crying out for love. I would absolutely still try my best to send energy of love in that situation, because I've come to understand that that is absolutely more powerful than any fearful thought, any force that the universe has. And even if that led to my death, I would be holding that energy as opposed to fear. And I would be moving forward with that energy as opposed to fear. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to kind of share that with you, that this week has been my lesson has been about, and I always say this, these are my lessons, I just get to share them with you. A big piece of my lesson is that I'm really wanting to choose peace in my life. And the way to do that is to show up in the energy of love with whatever shows up for me. And it does show up for me. It's there for the purpose of helping me to move back into that energy, into that place. So, rather than finding fault, I'm here to find love. And I'm inviting you to practice that this week. Just notice if your mind is set on finding fault with someone, finding fault with some situation, finding fault with some problem, finding fault with some politician, finding fault with someone who's already been elected, finding fault with someone who's trying to be elected. Are you there to really eliminate that kind of thinking so that you can really see the power and the purpose of love in your life and in the world? That's my lesson for this week, and I invite you to join me in it. Let's have a moment of music, and then we're going to continue with our meditation. So let's take a nice deep breath now. We breathe into the heart space. And as we breathe in and out, just take a moment now to ask this question of yourself. Am I looking for what's wrong? Or am I looking for love? Am I looking for the faults, the problems, the errors? Or am I looking to create the true solution, which is love? Am I open to being love? Even in the presence of fear, our own or another's? Am I open to loving that part of me that feels fearful? That feels the need to be right? Am I open to be an instrument of the energy and the power, the clarity of peace? Am I seeking to be peace in the world? Am I knocking on the door of peace and love? Am I asking for the lessons of love? So take a moment now in the quiet of your being to just listen. Not judge, not condemn, not find fault, not try to make things right, but come from an energy of love. In the silence. In the silence. And let's just take this opportunity to be loving to even those parts of ourselves that really don't know how to do that very well. Or is afraid to. Or doesn't understand. Breathing into the heart space, let that energy of love expand the heart. Let that energy of love transform. Take another nice deep breath now. Let your awareness be in this room, time and place. Be open to allowing yourself to be guided and directed by the energies of love. Take another nice deep breath, and when you're ready, gently open your eyes. Look around. And not just look for love, but look from love. And so it is. Amen.